last year, Bart, you stirred a little bit of drama in
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cincinnati.
Oh yeah. I'm about that smoke. It's all good.
We call it red dot in Baltimore, and it's on him, and it's going to be on him for the rest of his career. He's going to regret he ever did that. The war is losing his division and never winning the Super Bowl because the Ravens going to keep him from there. That's what it is. Steve, put the code
Never
in.
winning the
Steve
Super Bowl.
Put the code in.
You were welcoming the smoke last year with your rant after the Bengals beat the Ravens about.
It hurt my heart.
Bart Scott joining me today, 2006 Pro Bowler, played with the Ravens if you don't know, you should know, from 02 to 08, and then with the Jets from 09 to 2012. And I would love to know, Bart, your take on the current state of the Baltimore Ravens. 2 17-point blown leads.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind when you were watching these games?
Well, as a alumni, certain ways that we don't accept to lose, and we don't accept losing when the defense fails. We used to have something when you're up by 10 points, game over, and you heard Rex Ryan commenting on it as well. And it's a culture, and the standard is the standard. You can always take the player out of the uniform, but the standard remains the standard. And we're used and not accustomed to giving up big leads and not being dominated on the defensive side of the ball. And I understand Lamar Jackson is an outstanding talent, maybe one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but the defense is still held to a different level in that city because the team is built to represent the city. It's a blue-collar, hard-nosed, hard-working team that's gritty and people that you want in foxholes with you. They have the talent. If you look at the individual parts, whether it's Williams, who's a Pro Bowler, Marcus Peters, who's a Pro Bowler, you talk about Marlon Humphreys, who's a Pro Bowler. And then you have, arguably one of the best safeties to come out of college in the last 5 years. It doesn't make sense why they can't finish games and why Harbaugh wouldn't have trust in his team to close the show and take the 3 points that we know is always automatic with Tucker and force the Buffalo Bills in tough conditions to beat them and go down and march them for the field. That's not the team I recognize. And I know they're missing some parts. They're missing the young, outstanding D tackle and I believe Travis Jones. Of course, the young kid that they got from Michigan, Joe Burrow, he'll be there next year. But they have enough to win. The fortunate part is within this division, much like Cleveland and exactly like Cincinnati, they're looking for an identity. Nobody's run away with a big lead. So it's exciting to see these guys play a division foe, a team that had their number last year. And maybe, just maybe, the Ravens have revenge on their mind.
So that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think, because I remember your hot take last year, do you think that the Ravens are going to come out with an even bigger chip on their shoulder, knowing what happened last year, losing 41-17, 41-21, or was it? Yeah, 41-21.
It doesn't matter. It was a blowout. It was
it's complete blowout.
Pretty much an ass kicking. So, that's kind of what happens. And, you're thinking Baltimore losing 2 to any opponent within the division is blasphemous, right? And you talk about, trying to get retribution. They came in, not only did they beat you, they had a little swagger about themselves, and they kind of, danced in front of your face, and they told you about it. And Joe Burrow was the ringleader. But the slight difference this year is that the Ravens aren't as decimated from injury as they were before. Yes, they've been 2.5 years without Ronnie Stanley, and like I said, Travis Jones isn't there. They lost Pierce, but those are minor to the catastrophic injuries that they had with losing every single running back that they had and was trying to get guys off the scrap heap. So I think it'll be a much more competitive matchup this year. I'm excited. Cincinnati is finding out what it's like to be the hunted, because when you represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, you got to match the opponent's energy every single time you step on the field. I think they're adjusting to that. They're adjusting to how teams are playing them defensively. I think last Thursday was Joe Burrow's best performance, not because of the numbers, but because he was patient enough to take what the defense was giving him. We see the frustration sometimes with great players like Aaron Rodgers, like Tom Brady, when they refuse to give you opportunities to make the big play. But, we call it death by 1,000 paper cuts. And last week was an example of death by 1,000 paper cuts. He couldn't get it to Chase until late when they
Mm-hmm.
had to give him one-on-one coverage. You talk about Higgins being able to, make a great play against a great player, whether he was injured with a hamstring or not, the opportunity presented itself and he took care of business. And that opened it up for everybody else. But that was about being patient. And at the end, you still got the end result. You still had a comfortable win. It's just not the first round knockout. Sometimes you got to go a little distance.
Now, Zach Taylor has been criticized heavily because all eyes were on them on Thursday night against the Dolphins. And he was criticized a lot for his conservative play calling, not being as creative. And the criticism comes because of what talent they have offensively in Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon. What do you take from that? What do you think about the play calling so far from Zach Taylor?
Well, they got the victory, right? And I heard early on, everybody was, trying to blame the offensive line, saying, "Hey, I thought we invested heavily in this position." But Joe Burrow was burping the baby. We call it burping the baby because he's back there patting the ball, trying to get the big play, understanding that they're not giving you that. And Miami is a good defense as well. I would say a top 10 defense. So those opportunities will not present themselves all the time. You have to be able to get the victory by any means necessary. And what teams are giving you is a light box and the opportunity to run the football with Joe Mixon, and maybe you can hurt them with a guy like Hayden Hurst because that's how you beat cover two. But you're not going to be throwing the ball up the sidelines where you have a corner underneath and a safety over the top. And you if you try and force the football, it's going to look like it looked against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who was an inferior opponent, but made the game a lot tougher and ended up winning the game simply because you were not patient in playing the game of football and letting the defense dictate where the ball goes, not you. It doesn't work the other way around.
Now, last year, Bart, you stirred a little bit of drama in
Yeah.
Cincinnati.
Oh yeah. I'm about that smoke. It's all good.
You were welcoming the smoke last year with your rant after the Bengals beat the Ravens
It
about
hurt my heart.
running up the score. You're talking about the red dot on Joe Burrow. Is what exactly does the red dot mean? You were talking about the Baltimore culture, but you weren't able to expand as much as you probably would have liked to in that moment.
Well, it's not giving your opponent the benefit of the doubt. It's if you're within a step and a half, instead of letting up, you take the shot, right? It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Listen, that division has been based off physicality, nasty play, violent hits.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. So you talk about red dot, like it's certain things that you do. It's you make sure that we call it a double chin strap game, right? You understand that. Listen, if it's no finesse moves, we're not swimming, we're not trying to put a juke move on anybody. We're going down the center and we're saying I'm more man than you. And see if you're willing to stand on the train tracks and the train is coming through. Everybody gets hit. If you're by a pile, you get hit. If you're close, you get hit. You get hit, you get pushed, you play to the echoes of the whistle. And if you get opportunity to get to the quarterback, you tackle his arms. You tackle his arms so you can throw him into that turf. You use your body as a weapon and you use the ground as a weapon. And you make him know that he's been in a physical football game. And we always call it, we always used to chart not whether we won or lost the game, but how many guys weren't able to answer the bell the following week from playing us. And how many exactly. Well, just the physical play. Like my body will not allow me to perform the next week. And it's about, okay, we call it, and also people coming in, they knew what type of game it was going to be. So we used to call it the bird flu. We knew if somebody was questionable, doubtful, they were going to be out because they knew you had to be 100% when you played us, when it was one of those divisional games and we were pissed off. And if I'm the Ravens, I'm showing all those guys on the sideline, the press conference with Joe Burrow making a mockery of the Ravens and that proud tradition. So it's a short tradition, right? It's only like 25 years, but it has 2 Super Bowls. It has AFC championships involved in it. It has multiple trips to the playoffs. And you don't get that if you don't have a standard. And the standard is if somebody is willing to say our name and make a mockery of it, they'll regret the day that they said it.
So the Ravens lose to the Bills. Do you think they're coming in on Sunday night primetime angry?
I mean, they would have been coming in angry because I guarantee you they got bulletin board material for what happened last week, but also the fact that this is for the number 1 spot in the AFC. I mean, this is definitely with all the things that both teams have been through, and not living up to their expectations and their standard, to still be in a position in week 5 to play a game against your division rival and still have an opportunity to be number 1 in the division. And head-to-head counts for a game and a half. I mean, this is all you can ask for. I mean, you didn't need any extra juice, but the fact that the Ravens lost, it should be extra juice.
So what do you think? How do you think Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense will fare against a team like the Ravens? The Ravens always play them tough, it seems
Yep.
like.
Yeah, but you
Outside
should
of
be able.
last year, we'll just say outside of
Yeah,
last year.
but you should. But I mean, it doesn't look like the Ravens secondary has fixed those issues. You talk about blowing a 21-point lead to
Yeah.
the Miami Dolphins because you aren't communicating and the ball is going over your head. So if I'm Cincinnati, I feel great. The fact that I'm gonna have opportunities now. If these guys play to the back of their football card, whether you think about Marcus Peters and what he has been traditionally through this league and what Marlon Humphreys has been and what Marcus Williams was in New Orleans, you would think that they would maybe step up and start coming together, have a tight game plan, and be able to execute and be competitive and say, hey, we're not going to get beat by giving up big plays. It should bowl for a heavyweight fight. But usually somebody gets agitated and it becomes personal. I'm saying because the last year should already be personal. If these are the Ravens and how I expect the Ravens to behave and how they've always behaved, a proud defense, they'll eventually get back to that dominant defense once they get some of those pieces. And some of these young guys, kind of, get their right to passage and they mature into like instead of baby birds, they'll be grown birds. And sometimes it's just a little transition phase when you lose great players like Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, Ed Reed, and you look for new leaders. And that's what the Ravens are in process of trying to find new young leaders to kind of reset the Raven way.
What did you think of Marcus Peters and John Harbaugh on the sidelines last week against the Bills? Marcus Peters seemed like he was jawing off a little
hmm
bit to John.
It's always been that way, right?
Always? I didn't
Take
realize that.
well, take Marcus Peters out, put Chris McAllister there. It doesn't matter. Like we've always been passionate, and we're men, and we don't see it as a. You may see you guys saw a player and a coach, right?
Yeah.
What I saw arguing is partners, right? Because
Okay.
Brian Billick set the standard a long time ago. He said, "Listen, we're partners." Because yes, eventually I can cut you, but if you guys don't play for me, then they'll fire me. So in hand, our our success is intertwined with each other. So it's more of a partnership. It's not a dictatorship. Like we're all involved in this. We were all trying to feed our family. Just like they fire players, they fire coaches. So that's him maybe challenging them about maybe doing something that he thought would work better. And he didn't do it in the right way. But I think Harbaugh and Peters could sit down like men, not like coach to player, and hash it out and say, this is why I reacted the way I did. I apologize. I didn't try and show you up, but we can have these tough conversations and be men enough to move on and graduate from it. This isn't something that should linger. I mean, I've seen Jonathan Dawkins say, run the effing ball, right? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Stop that. Like we've seen that. But when you have an organization that is more like a family, you have those inner fightings. Now if somebody else would have tried to mock it or come in between that, they might have caught, the five fingers to the face, if somebody got involved in it. But this was more about, alpha males doing alpha male stuff. Sometimes you challenge each other because, steel are sharpened steel.
How do you think the AFC North is going to shape up, especially with, Lamar Jackson, an incredible quarterback?
hmm
You've got Joe Burrow, also an incredible quarterback.
Pittsburgh
I have a
sucks.
feeling that the Ravens, the Bengals rise to the top at the same level.
Yeah, I mean, this is a three-team race. I mean, as long as Chubb is there in
Yeah.
Cleveland and you allow them to tread water and leave them in striking distance, when Deshaun Watson comes, we all know what he is. He's a top five quarterback when he's right. The last
Yeah.
time we saw him, he was in a bad situation, but he threw for 4,200 yards with a bad team. Like he is a bad man. Like I always say, if he was in Kansas City, I think the Kansas City Chiefs would be better than what they are under Mahomes. I think that highly of the skill set of Watson. So this is a three-team race, and as long as people are deciding to be mediocre and nobody wants to rise to the top, it's going to be tough because it makes those divisional games at the end of the season that much more important. You want to try and try and store some nuts early on because you know that it's going to come down. Now, some more opportunities might open up because we thought the AFC West was going to be a good division. Looks
Hmm.
like it's falling short. AFC South, one team race. So, with the extra playoff spot, it should be an opportunity for multiple teams to get in. We thought maybe two from the AFC North, maybe three now because the AFC West may only get one or two, maybe one if, the Chargers continue to have all these injuries that they've been having in recent weeks.
And last question for you. I know you have a show coming up. You got to prep for
I've
that.
got no life.
You don't got to prep. You just know it off the top of your head. That's what I love about it.
We just spit the hot fire.
That's what we love. We love the hot fire in Cincinnati. That's why we eat Skyline.
Give you gas, so I need some Metamucil or some Tums after I eat some of that Skylark turkey. What is it? Is it turkey based or is it beef going on?
You know what? That's a really good question. I have no idea.
You got to have a healthy option. They don't have no white bean chili or nothing going on.
They have like a Greek burrito or a Greek salad, something like that.
Yeah, that doesn't sound tasty. Send me some. I'll tell you if it gives me heartburn within 24 hours.
I'll send you some. I'll send you some to the studio and you can tell me.
Okay. I appreciate
Bart,
it.
how much, crap did you get after that rant last year? Because I know Cincinnati fans still talk about that to this day. And that was what, 8, 9, 10 months ago?
Yeah. I mean, listen, we had the whole beef with Gary Owens. He hit me up in my DMs and he was talking stuff and I talked back to him. It was kind of fun, it's like some verbal sparring. But I expect the fans to be outraged if I say, hey, we're going to red dot him, we're going to tackle his arms, we're going to get Macaulay Culkin out there, out of here. We're not going to allow him to have any cheese pizza or all that type of stuff. I mean, but that's the rivalry. I'm sure if you think about Ocho or TJ, who's your mama? Like they're still passionate. Like once you're in this rivalry, you're in it. Because the thing is, it's a level of respect because we've both taken stuff from each other. 1 year they win and stop us from going, we need to go, and we've done the same to them. It's been some, whenever you have two organizations that are prideful and within a division where it's high stakes, it's always going to be high passion. That was passion coming out because I couldn't help. It's nothing I can do. I'm a spectator, right? So all I can do is try and fire up my guys and tell them what our standard is and tell them they're not living up to it and tell them how we feel as alumni.
That makes perfect sense. What you're saying makes absolute sense right now. Do you have a prediction?
I couldn't even look at normal. You know what? This defense for Cincinnati is underrated. DJ Reader is playing at a high level.
Mm-hmm. He's out though. He's hurt.
Yeah, I know, but they still haven't given up much. And Trey Henderson has the same agent. I actually talked to him when he was coming out of college, and he was just some wide-eyed kid just trying to figure out how to talk to his dad about the process. And I had forgot we had those conversations, so he reminded me that I talked to him and gave words of encouragement when he was going through the process. Now he's the ops. Now he's the enemy. But he's still within the family, so it's like almost trying to root against your cousin or your brother. You don't want them to do good, but you don't want them to get hurt, right. And you want your team to get the victory. But I mean, I'm hoping that the Ravens can get off the snide because I can't fathom a world where Cincinnati has won 3 in a row and I have to hear from people in Cincinnati again. And it's one
They're
of those
ruthless.
things,
they'll come at you.
Yeah, I know they was all in the DMs and all that stuff. It's a good thing it hurt my assistant more than anybody because I don't even control my social media. I just come on there every leap year, go in there, start fires, and she got to put them out. So, I mean, it was all good.
Your poor assistant. Did you give her a raise last year?
I gave her a gift card for Christmas. We'll keep it
at
that. But, it was fun, but I'm hoping the Ravens win. I can see this going either way. I need the Ravens secondary to step up. It's a big challenge. And they have to be sure tacklers because, Chase and Higgins and Boyd, they're big receivers. You can't just give them a flipper. We know that very, very well here from a couple weeks ago when, Joyner thought he can catch Higgins and give him a flipper. These guys are grown men. You got to bring your pass with you because, they may be receivers by position, but they're very tough football players. So it's going to be a tough game. And every time you play a quarterback like Joe Burrow, you have to have respect because he's never out of it. He's one of those guys that are special. He's a top 10 quarterback already. And it's going to be a tough out, but I hope that we're up for the task. I'm not sure. It depends on how they come out and if they execute the game plan. But if they do, they have the talent to beat anybody. Lamar Jackson is special. And I'm never amazed at the type of performances he gives us.
I would think that Ravens fans and analysts would be worried about their pass defense. They're last in the league. They've given up 350 yards per game and doing that against Joe Burrow, even though they had a few hiccups in the start of the year.
Yeah, communication.
Definitely don't want to be doing that against Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens are breaking in a new coordinator, and he doesn't understand the Raven way, and he's trying to find his way, and he's under a lot of scrutiny. He doesn't know if he wants him to be a zone team, a man team. For so many years, I mean, it was a luxury to have a guy like DPs, Rex Ryan, Wink Martindale, and now you have a guy that's a protege who's trying to find his own identity, but he's unproven. And, we don't want to lose games because he's unproven. He's going to have to step his game up and either coach it better, either you're coaching or allowing it to happen. Either way, he better figure it out because we'll run him out of there.
Bart, you're awesome. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your honesty and candor. And I will send you some Skyline.
Okay, I'm going to try and give it to Janae first, and if she lives, then I'll try some.
Wait, you're going to test it out on Janae?
Yeah, I'm going to see if her body can handle it because she's smaller. So if it, gets her, then I'll stay away from it.
Okay, I'll send 2 cans of chili then.
Yeah, women got stronger digestive systems, allegedly. I mean, you guys do everything better. You guys, listen, we can't handle colds, chest cold. I can never carry a baby. You guys are way tougher than we are.
I appreciate that. No, I will say that guys, when they're sick, they do not do well. They just slump right down.
Yeah, I mean,
never seen anything like it in my life.
Yeah, I'd be crying for my mama.
Bart, thank you so much. Have a great show tonight.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you.